prostate cancer. But if you're of African ancestry, and the majority of men in this country are of African ancestry, unfortunately, the disease is a different entity. It's a more aggressive form of a disease when we compare with other racial counterparts. So if we look at stage of a disease for, let's say, low-risk prostate cancer for Caucasian men, the same staging on paper for African ancestry men, you're going to have a worse prognosis for many reasons. The disease on a molecular level is completely different than that for other racial counterparts. So because of that, we usually get afflicted with prostate cancer 6 to 7 years earlier than Asians or Hispanics or Caucasians. We have a more aggressive form of the disease. So we are diagnosed twice as often with prostate cancer than our Caucasian counterparts. It's something that if we can pick it up early, we have all the risk factors, unfortunately. We have to look at even BRCA gene, breast cancer gene mutations. That's very prevalent in our country. That's why we have so many cases of breast cancer in this country. That in itself can put you at risk of getting prostate cancer exponentially higher. So even in certain families, we're doing genetic testing, so we can be on top of it. We can be very diligent in picking it up. And if we are going to diagnose you with prostate cancer, we can treat you. It could be a little small bump in the road. You can get treated on a Saturday, be back to work on a Monday.
That sounds amazing. Tell us, what has been the typical response of Bahamian men towards, one, making sure that their prostate is healthy, and two, going through the process of being treated?
Well, I've seen over the last many years there have been positive strides, but men notoriously don't want to see a physician. It's usually the females in their life, whether it's their daughter or their wife or their granddaughter, who are pushing them to get prostate cancer surveillance. In many cases, it's for the first time, and they're 66 years old. They should have been doing it for the last 26 years. As simple as getting an annual physical, which you should get every year. We have a high rate of non-communicable diseases, diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, heart disease. We need to be on top of that. If we have to give you diet modifications, behavioral modifications, put you on medications, we need to treat a patient as a whole and stop living in the darkness and having this whole macho attitude that nothing can touch me. When it's my time, it's my time. If you get prostate cancer, you're not going to just slip in and die a peaceful death. You can be living a life in and out of hospital for 10, 15 years. The financial toll of that, the emotional toll of that. Men don't like going to the hospital. If you get prostate cancer in an advanced stage, you're going to be seeing a physician. You're going to be in the hospital in and out for years on end. So that in itself should be your motivation. Let's pick up prostate cancer early. If we can pick it up early, the chance of survival is nearly 100%. We can do it minimally invasively in terms of the treatment options that we have. You don't even necessarily need surgery to cure prostate cancer. And you can go on with your life and have that extra 20, 30 years on this life.
That sounds amazing. You know, for persons who have undergone treatment, or sorry, for Bahamian men who are considering coming in for a screening, or they might be waiting for some sign or some symptom, is there a sign or a particular symptom they should be waiting on, or this is more about being proactive?
You have to be proactive. You're not going to get any symptoms. If you're having symptoms of possibly urinating a little bit more frequently, or having a weaker flow, or waking up in the night to urinate, statistically speaking, that's going to be related to benign disease, BPH, benign prostate hyperplasia, which is going to afflict every man as he gets older. That in itself can cause disastrous circumstances, because if you're not emptying your bladder, you can get back pressure on your kidney, you can develop kidney failure. Many men think they have prostate cancer when they're waking up 5 times in the night, when in most cases, statistically speaking, it's because of benign disease. We can give you a medication. You could wake up 1 time in the night to urinate and not have this walking around like a zombie because you never get a good night's sleep.
So tell us, in Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, it's September, what's a message you want to leave with our viewers, especially Bahamian men, with regards to prostate cancer and their health?
We have all the greatest risk factors for getting prostate cancer. We're living to an older age. Advancing age is the #1 risk factor. Second greatest risk factor is African ancestry. When we talk about a more aggressive form of the disease, being obese, and we're an obese nation, men in particular, it puts you at risk. In terms of alcohol intake, if you drink a lot of alcohol, particularly in middle age, that puts you at a risk of a more aggressive form of the disease. So because we are at such a high risk, and 1 in 5 to 1 in 6 of us are going to get prostate cancer in their lifetime, we have to be very diligent, particularly if you have a strong family history of prostate cancer.
Right.
We got to even possibly start screening you from the age of 35, but definitely from the age of 40 and every year after that. So just a simple blood test to begin with. That's the first line screening that's recommended by the American Urology Association and European Association of Urology.
Right.
If we can pick up prostate cancer, your chance of survival is almost 100%. If you're diagnosed at a late stage, advanced metastatic disease, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to give you medication to starve the prostate cancer of testosterone, which means the first thing that's going to happen is your erections are gone.
Ooh.
So if you want to keep your erections, what every man in this country wants to do, let's not get you diagnosed with advanced disease, because inevitably you're going to lose your erections.
I think we can cut right there, because that's all our Bahamian men population need to hear. There's no more motivation needed than that, other than adding on years to your life, continuing to have the quality of life that you and your family need. How can our viewers find you to learn more about prostate cancer or to come in for a screening?
Well, I'm a consultant physician at the Princess Margaret Hospital. You just get a consult sent to us from your local clinic, whether it's in Nassau or the Family Islands, or I have a website, urologycarebahamas.com. I'm also available at Oak Tree Medical Center.
Dr. Gregory Pinto, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. Always learn so much. Once again, you know, I love how you come on and you encourage us as men to take care of our health, to take it in our own hands, get detected early, get treated, you know, lose the stigma of being treated by the healthcare industry and healthcare professionals. So thank you for everything you do. And thank
It's my pleasure for being here. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure having you on the show. You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
The Euro device is very affordable. It allows you to increase your internet connectivity. You are able to do away with the buffering, say goodbye to the dead spots. It gives them a much more stable connection. Their customers are able to view their digital menus. The establishment is able to stream. It allows for everyone, the customers and the business operators, to have a much more robust and stable internet connectivity.
When I had got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live at Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
Welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. We're at the halfway point on this marvelous Monday. I'm Natassia Palacios.
And I'm Mark Daniels. Thanks for sticking with us. We know it's dead early. We know it's dead wet. But we always appreciate you being with us on Bahamas at Sunrise.
Indeed, we do. Indeed, we do. We hope that you've enjoyed the morning as much as we've enjoyed it. A great conversation with Natassia Wright out of Jamaica, talking about just the importance of resilience and mindset and leadership. So great conversation there. And then it's always good to have Dr. Pinto with us, just reminding us about the importance of really taking care of our health. And I love that he speaks to men so specifically about that.
Yeah, and he knows how to say the right things. One, you know, you shouldn't be waiting around for a sign or first symptom. You should be proactive and get on top of your health. Two, there's a 100% success rate if you can catch it early in terms of your quality of life and extending your years. And then I think the most important thing is that you want to be able to step up to the plate and swing your bat. And your bat might not be there. So make sure the bat is there. That's all I'm just saying.
Mark, the man with the words. The man with the words, as I indicated. Well, we got more stuff to come in the second half of the show. Dr. Marcellus Taylor is here. He joins us to wrap up our Focus on Education series. We'll be finding out, you know, as September is drawing to a close, how has the first month back been for our students? So we're looking forward to that.
And we're also going to learn more about the grant recipients of the Wilson's Awards and Prize. But before we get to those lovely segments, let's take a second look at weather. Let's see how wet it really can be today and the rest of the week.
Weather at Sunrise, brought to you by Bahamas First. What's first for you comes first for us.
Thank you, Mark, and good morning, Bahamas. And yes, second look at weather sunrise, a trip around the tropics, and this morning, Ian is now a hurricane. Hurricane Ian at 5 a.m. this morning was located near latitude 18.2 degrees north, longitude 82.0 degrees west, some 90 miles to the southwest of Grand Cayman. Is moving towards the northwest at 14 miles per hour. Those winds are up to 75 miles per hour with higher gusts. Additional rapid strengthening will take place. We in the Bahamas will get some outer bands from the system and rainfall of 2 to 4 inches over the next 24 to 36 hours. And then we have Gaston, which is a tropical storm in the far eastern northeastern Atlantic, and moving towards the west-northwest at 9 miles per hour. Those winds are now 40 miles per hour. And we are watching an area of low pressure located several hundred miles west of the Cabo Verde Islands. This system has a 50% chance of tropical cyclone formation over the next 5 days. On the local scene in the marine forecast, we do have a small craft operators to exercise caution. Those winds today, southeast at 15 knots, seas 3 to 5 in the northwest Bahamas, east to southeast at 15-20 knots, seas 4 to 7 feet over the central and southeastern islands. On Wednesday, those winds east to southeast at 15-25 knots, seas 5 to 8 feet over the northwest and central Bahamas, 15-20 knots, seas 4 to 6 feet over the southeastern islands. On Wednesday, those winds east to southeast at 15-20 knots, seas 4 to 7 feet over the northwest Bahamas, 15 knots, seas 3 to 5 feet over the central and southeastern islands. Your tides. You can expect a high tide at 8:43 this morning. Next low tide will be at 2:59 this afternoon. High gain tonight at 9 p.m. Sunset, a minute past 7 this evening, rising by 6:59. UV index 9. Your water temperature 84 degrees Fahrenheit. And the moon phase, new moon. External look, the tropical moisture associated with Hurricane Ian will stream across the northwest and southern Bahamas into tomorrow morning with some showers and thunderstorms. Those showers heavier times or thunderstorms strong severe at times. And yes, localized flooding will continue across the islands. The grounds are totally saturated, and so be careful as you drive this morning out to work and children to school. That puts a wrap on your final look at weather sunrise. I'm Godfrey Burnside. Back to you, Star.
Thank you so much, Godfrey. All month long, we've been focusing on education with guests from the Ministry of Education, discussing rethinking, retooling, and rebooting methods and approaches to education. Here to close out this series, we're happy to welcome back Dr. Marcellus Taylor. He's the Director of Education. Dr. Taylor, good morning and welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here in studio.
Always a pleasure to have you with us,
Right.
and you're right. It's great that we're actually back in studio together again. And we've been learning so much by having different members of your team come in and speak with us. Of course, the fall semester has already begun. And how has that been going for the ministry so far, being back together again in person?
Well, generally, that's our preferred model for students to be in there because, you know, the education process is a kind of human endeavor, and it involves back and forth, and, you know, non-verbal activities are also important. But, you know, schooling is all about socialization as well. And so being in the physical space together is something that we are happy that is happening now. Of course, we've had a few unfortunate incidences involving, you know, misbehavior and violence, and we are trying to deal with that. But I think generally, teachers are happy to be with their students, and students and parents are happy that that they are in school and getting that direct engagement with teachers and their friends. And so when you put it all together, I think we're pleased with how things have started off.
Yeah, very well said. You know, Dr. Taylor, how connected is education to this concept of violence in the school? And by that I mean, it's one thing for us to be able to teach 2 plus 2 is 4, or how to read. But how do we, is it just a school thing, or how does society get involved so that we can kind of deal with the social and emotional challenges that must somehow be impacting the violence that we're seeing?
Yes, well, I mean, you know, the school in a lot of ways is microcosm of society. One of the things that people don't like to hear, but that is an important function of school, is really the social conditioning and social controlling. You know, at the very beginning, you teach children to follow the rules, you teach children to put their hands up, you teach them to line up and form a queue, you teach them to, you know, share, respect one another, and all of this type of socialization activity. But certainly the school cannot do it alone.
Yeah.
And this is a growing problem I think we have in the society, where people feel that they can just sublet or offload all of these responsibilities to the school. But that's not the case. Your children should come to school knowing their manners. Your children should come to school knowing, you know, how to be with some level of civility. Your children should come to school respecting authority. And those things, they are lessons that are supposed to be taught from, you know, even your child is, you know, in the very early stages of their life. What our job is to help you, the individual parent, and the society in general with the nurturing and development of students. So it's really us helping to cause the student to be the person they ought to be. Not that it's that responsibility is solely ours, and they come to school for us to pour all of this stuff in. So it's really a collaboration, you know.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Of course, we'll come back now and talk some more about the different tools, etc. But I wanted us to just emphasize that since we have the conversation this morning, and it is on so many people's minds, that it's not just a school thing, that we all have to be involved in that if we want to see anything change, because school is only a reflection of what's happening in a wider context, as you mentioned. And so how important has it been that our educational system embrace change and innovation? Obviously, we saw that happen with the great pivot that happened during the pandemic. But how has that kind of continued now that we are back in face-to-face?
And I would say that we did make a great pivot during the initial period of COVID. I guess we could almost say COVID is just about over now in terms of the way we're acting about it. But we saw the need for the technology evolution and revolution in education before that. And we, for the last 20 years really in education, have been trying to move along that spectrum where we engage the technology more. So, you know, it came to crescendo, I would say, during COVID, where almost all of the activity was online. But what we hope now to do is to infuse a lot more of the technology in the instructional program. So we have launched what we call the Learning Well, which is a digital repository, so that we have content produced by teachers for the use of other teachers, and we share and make that more available. Students can have it, and we also have our LMS, where even though students are in school, we encourage teachers to put content, put resources, put information on the LMS, so that at any point in time, a student could wake up 1 o'clock in the morning, log onto their LMS, see the assignment that they had the day before, review it, or do whatever, study and whatever. And so we really want to ensure that that moment in time when we were infused with the technology was not just a fleeting moment, because we see that as another way to reach more students.
Certainly one of the ministry representatives that came on spoke with us. They were from the Family Islands, and they talked about the fact that, you know, now we can even reach more students in the Family Islands because the technology is there. You guys are recording and asking people to teach us to kind of almost put best practices online together, etc. Have you been pleased with the results coming out of the Family Islands, even before this return in the fall, what we've seen over the summer, etc., in terms of national exams?
You know, I would say yes, generally pleased, but, you know, we're always aware that in a lot of Family Islands, students are not able to access all of the subjects and at the level that they ought to and deserve to. And so that's why we started our virtual school in 2019 to expand the offerings that Family Island students are getting. In some islands, it has worked quite well. In other islands, the technology in terms of the internet connectivity was not as strong as it should be, so it didn't really help in some instances. But those things are being addressed, and we look forward to the near future being very bright in terms of these expanded curriculum offerings, which will then ensure that students are not just limited to 4 or 5 BGCSE, but they can do 10 BGCSE subjects if they wish.
Excellent, excellent. And I guess a part of that is also the curriculum cycle and pacing guides. We'd spoken about that early on in the series.
Yes.
How has that been working and impacting?
That's been working quite well. We launched the curriculum development cycle in 2018, and since then we've developed about 20 new curricular guides, which is a lot by our standards. And then we've introduced the pacing guides, which complement the curriculum guides, and it ensures that across the country, people are moving through the curriculum in the order that they should, in the time frame that they should, to ensure that students get full exposure to the curriculum in ways that they ought to. And then our ability to support people will be stronger, because if everyone is moving lockstep, we can provide from central office support that can go out and help everybody, because everybody is kind of moving in concert.
Yeah. And that's excellent. It also means that for the most part, then there should be a general knowledge within a certain age group at a certain time across the country, which is very helpful.
Yeah, and one of the things that we hope to do in the very near future is to identify all of the key standards that should be known by the end of each grade level and publish that so that parents can even know.
Yeah.
And so if you have a child who just completed grade 3, you should know that they're able to multiply 3-digit numbers with 2-digit numbers. You would know that they should be able to, write a simple paragraph explaining something. You would know what their skill sets been. You see your child not being able to do those things, you now can be a part of the solution.
Yeah. Very well said. Speaking of being a part of the solution, we know that, as a community, we lost some people during the pandemic, some students who just were not active online for whatever reason. Has the ministry come up with some sort of solution to bring those in, or is there a particular purpose or dedication or vision toward dealing with that learning loss and learning gap for those students who just for whatever reason did not have access during that time?
Right. Well, the first and important thing is identifying those who haven't come in. And this is where our EMIS has helped us, because we've been able to see the students who have not come in. So we've worked a lot on identifying those students. And now that school has opened in the physical sense, we can physically count the students. So that's one thing. 2, we've introduced an increased number of school attendance officers. The older people will know as truant officers. And their mission and role is to help with going out and finding those students who we know to be missing, and others who we may not know of. Third thing we hope to do is, once we get the students back into school, is to engage in a diagnostic exercise. And we are finalizing an RFP that is going out for a company to provide us with a digital solution to support us with that. And then, of course, at the school level, we are identifying where students are, helping them with setting targets as to where they need to be, in a system we call the 4DX, establishing their wildly important goal, which is essentially a way to say, where is it that I want to be at the end of the year, and then tracking and monitoring that as they go. So I would say that is the general way that we're dealing with this issue.
Excellent.
Right.
Well, Dr. Taylor, we do have to go, but before we do, are there any final words you have for us, any particular vision for 2022, 2023, and just for our education system or for our societies in general?
Well, first and foremost, I would say that we would like to continue to build on the innovations that we have been exposed to over the last couple of years, because we believe that these will strengthen the offerings that we have. But I think more important than anything else is everybody really playing their part. Parents playing their part to ensure that students come to school ready, and that their children engage in this educational opportunity as fully as they can, because it's really the chance to really self-actualize and become the persons that you want to be, and every day counts, every year counts. And so we want parents to ensure that their children understand that that is their responsibility. We also want to foster greater collaboration within our ranks, because what we want to do is we want to make the work of higher quality, but at the same time reduce the workload on any one teacher. So things like the repository and sharing best practices, all designed to do that. And last thing before we go, because I know we have to go, I'd just like to thank all of my colleagues at Central Office and in the schools for the hard work that they do day in and day out. There's a lot of back-breaking work in a literal sense in some instances, a lot of back-breaking work. And people do it, and they do it well for the most part. So I'd like to thank them for the work that they've done. And you've seen my colleagues come here, about 10 or 15 of them came during the course of this series. And we have a good team. So
You do.
yeah.
You do. Dr. Taylor, thank you to you and thank you to your team for allowing us to explore with you with this focus on education and just for the work that you continue to do. We do appreciate it. Lots of noise in the market, but we wouldn't make it without you. And as parents, we learned that in the pandemic. So we thank you for your service. Indeed, we do. And for joining us this morning.
Appreciate it.
You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
Since 1967, Freeport Oil Company Limited has been dedicated to fueling growth and prosperity in the Bahamas. We have been a constant pillar within the country, striving to invest and support our community through the best of times and the worst of times. For us, Focol represents 21 years of strength and consistency, consistent leadership, consistent growth, consistent customer service. Through it all, we are resilient. Focol, fueling growth for people.
Our menu, it's digital, so customers, once they come in, they have to scan the menu. Due to the space size, customers were unable to connect. It was unstable. Customers were very irate. They couldn't see what we offered, so sometimes we had customers that left, and now we don't have that issue. Customers are easily accessing the menu on the website. So now it's a smooth process, and ordering is much easier. Installing the Euromesh was easy as 1, 2, 3.
One thing, two things, blue thing, whole things, things that are small, things that are grand, things that fit just right, and in the palm of your hand. Fox Hill Nursery, a large selection of garden supplies. If you can see it in your mind, you can find it at Fox Hill Nursery.
Got prostate cancer. My family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
Welcome back. The Wilson Awards and Prize is a program that will contribute to the national development of the Bahamas for years to come. And the grant recipients for the first cycle of the Awards and Prize have been selected. Here is Suzette Parker with that story. Enjoy.
The Wilson Awards program was founded to incentivize the production of new knowledge in areas that can contribute to national development in the Bahamas. Dr. Chris Curry and Dr. Keith Tinker are grantees for their project March on Bahama Land, Nation Formation and the Emergence of the Modern Bahamas.
It's tracking really the history of the modern Bahamas from 1920 to 2020, so it covers an entire century. But the beauty of the project is, you know, when we typically think of political parties and party politics and the history thereof, we think of that narrow window from 1953 to independence and just on. We're trying to open that window to a broader prism, if you would, of our historical narratives about politics. And we look at it like engaging what we would call proto-political activities in the 1920s and 30s and 40s. You had a ballot party that was led by Milo Butler. You had a citizens committee in the 1950s before the PLP was formed that were agitating for change. You had persons who were Garveyites and were involved in a kind of political activism before formal politics came forward with the forming of the PLP. So what we're trying to do is engage a concept about what politics is and what political history would look like if we widened the margin and we extended the narrative back to an earlier period, the 1920s, and then forward to our contemporary period, because we're finding ultimately that for whatever reason, the scholarship that we currently have ends at independence, as if a modern nation state didn't have a history after 73. So we're trying to fill the gap moving forward as well as filling the gap going backward.
Dr. Curry explained the process he and Dr. Tinker are using to compile the book.
We are relying heavily on interviews. It's almost like an ethnographic study in a sense, because we have almost 40 persons that we either have interviewed or intend to interview, long list. A lot of those interviewees are going to be persons who were either actors during the area of the Quiet Revolution, or they would be children or family members of the actors. Many would have passed away. So that is part of where the Wilson Grant is so important, because we obviously have to travel to different islands to interview persons. Dr. Tinker and I traveled to Grand Bahama. We were able to conduct 5 interviews with persons that we consider to be important in Grand Bahama to our study. We are also intending to interview a couple of persons in Abaco and also in Exuma of other family islands. So that the big point on that is that the grant allows us to travel and to do the interviews that we feel are necessary to complete the project.
The collaboration between Tinker and Curry is working well.
Dr. Tinker, first of all, he's a preeminent Bahamian scholar, having written at least 5 to 6 books already. I have written a few books myself, so I think we're both competent writers. The way we work the relationship, though, is we do different chapters. We establish who's doing what chapter. So it's not like we're sitting at a computer together writing at the same time. But we collaborate on the drafting, the conceptual framework for how we want the chapters to look, and then we'll review each other's chapters and make edits together before we come out with a finished product. We also do all of the interviews together. Like I said, we traveled to Grand Bahama recently. That was where we utilized a little bit of the grant funds. And so that was excellent. He has good contacts, if I could say that, maybe even better than I do. And so setting up the interviews was very helpful from his end. And then I guess I did most of the interviewing.
This book will bring a new perspective to our country's march to independence and beyond.
Every book that has ever been authored as it relates to history is an important building block for the next book that comes out. So I appreciate what has come before me in terms of a lot of the biographies that we have about the Quiet Revolution. We know there's copious amounts of studies that have been done, whether it be the work done by Clifford Darling or Clement Maynard or Lady Pinling, just to name a few, Sir Randall Fox as well. But they're largely biographical, as I mentioned. I think the value of our study is it is analytically driven with a powerful narrative behind it. But it is not biographical. It's written by 2 historians who are trying to capture what is the seminal moment in our country's march towards independence and beyond, March on Bahama Land. I would say, if I was to put a percentage on it, I would say we're about 50% through the initial phasing of getting the chapters out in draft form. And then, of course, you have the copy editing. We're going to certainly look for someone who is an accomplished proof editor. And then from there, you make further changes. Writing is always about revising. It's almost like you never actually finish, but you have to draw the line at some point. So we're really hoping to have everything completed by November.
The Wilson Grant provides the momentum to help get such projects finished in a timely fashion.
History is sometimes considered to be collective memory, and I believe we're still at this point, coming into almost 50 years of independence, still not really appreciating or understanding who we are as a people. So one of the great things that comes out of a grant scheme like this is that it provides the momentum, the impetus for writers to get the work done in a timely fashion, to get it published, and have it disseminated to the wider public so that we can have a better understanding of who we are 50 years into independence. And I know we're celebrating the 49th next month, but I see the 50th as that real seminal moment for us.
For more information about the Wilson Awards, you can email grants@ub.edu.bs. For Bahamas at Sunrise, this is Suzette Parker.
Attention customers, next Tuesday, A major hurricane will cause complete confusion and chaos throughout the entire Bahamas. Water, phone, and internet services will be in short supply. Definite data loss is expected to all local and family island businesses.
Disasters don't plan ahead, but you can. Be ready with push-to-talk service that keeps you connected with your workforce with a simple push of a button. Contact the experts today at 601-8911 in Nassau or 602-8811 in the Family Island.
The Financial Voice celebrates World Tourism Day with a free webinar on Tuesday, September 27th at 10 a.m. Join the discussion under the theme, Rethinking Tourism, Putting People and Planet First. Our panelists are Charles Bowe, Ian Ferguson, Karen Panton, and Ben Simmons. Our moderator is Mark Daniels. Let's envision a more sustainable, inclusive, and resilient tourism sector. Registration is free at tclevents.com.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Bahamas at Sunrise. We want to remind you that Mark is going to be hosting that Tourism Day webinar tomorrow, September 27th at 10 a.m. It's under the theme, Putting People and Planet First. And of course, you can sign up for absolutely free at tclevents.com. We'll be back with more on Friday.
I can't touch it. Stop. Stop, don't go. Stop, please. I'll do anything.
Bye.
I'll wear better shoes.
His shoes are very nice.
Better outfits.
You look very handsome. We'll be back with more on Friday. Make it a good week. Bye.